So, Kat, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're in Newfoundland, correct?
Yeah, so it is an island off of the very east coast of Canada, and only about 500,000 people here. And yeah, so on our own floating rock in Canada.
Oh, nice, nice. How is your family originally from there?
No, well, I was adopted, first of all, but the family I was adopted into, my dad is actually from England. So I grew up spending a lot of time in England, and my mom was born here. My dad just came here for school, like they met and all that jazz.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. All right, yeah, yeah. You're the only person I know from Newfoundland, which is
I'm
cool.
probably
So,
going to be the only person you'll meet. There's not very
yeah, but like,
big.
yeah, yeah. Like I mentioned before, I hope to someday get out there.
Y-
I got to see what's going on, but I would love to just because I want to travel and explore. That would be definitely a cool spot to check out.
Newfoundland, I'm probably biased, but I there's something special about this place, like truly. There's a big sense of community here, and the coastlines and the hiking is beautiful here. It's like a big reason I came back just to try and heal here because it's just stunning.
Yeah, yeah. There's something. I think there's something to say that's powerful about nature in itself. Do you practice grounding at all? Have you heard of grounding?
Yes, I do. And hiking and like being outside is my way of grounding.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do a hard Google search on Newfoundland, and
You should search
I'm
up.
probably gonna head out there.
Yeah, you should search up Newfoundland Snowmageddon. That will blow your mind.
Snowmageddon.
Yes, it was actually crazy. I wasn't home for it. I was actually living in Italy, but it was a big snowstorm. Like the snow went over people's houses. They were in state of emergency. They had to bring in people because there was too much snow for us to plow. Anyways, it was a big deal and it made the news in Italy. So, yeah, search that
Holy
up.
crap!
It's crazy.
I will look that up. Yeah, yeah. But when it's not snowy, wintertime, it's pretty green, right?
Yeah, well, sometimes the weather isn't the greatest here. I'll have to say that. But like where we're an island, we get a lot of wind and we get a lot of rain sometimes and fog. But when
Mhm.
that's not there, it's beautiful here. But most people from here just usually suck up the elements because we're so used
Suck
to
up
it.
the elements.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, out there, I don't mean to go down the rabbit hole in Newfoundland, but I might as well ask since you're the only person I know from there.
Yeah.
Is what's like if you're out in nature, say you go camping there or you're out, what do you guys have like large predatory animals to be worried about? Like here in California, we got bears, mountain lions.
Like, I think it would depend where you go, really, but we're so isolated. The biggest animals we have to worry about are moose. Like,
That's pretty big.
yeah, but
That's
they're
pretty
so
big.
harmless. Well, I'm like, yeah. But bears, there are bears in Newfoundland, just I wouldn't say close to the city where I'm from.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. 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 Bears, moose. Yeah. I didn't know how big. I I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, but it was just a few years ago that I learned how big a moose actually is. I had no idea they're big or bigger than a horse,
They're
which
massive.
is yeah, yeah.
They're
I had
scary.
no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you don't see them and you just see pictures, like myself, I was thinking like a large deer,
Right?
because
Yeah.
deers have antlers, and no,
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 it's a
these
whole
guys
different
are.
ballpark.
Yeah, yeah. But there must be something strange about them because no one rides them. Do they ride them out there like horses?
No, we can't ride them like horses.
Yeah,
They hunt them a
yeah, yeah.
lot here because they're like a big cause of death, like in Newfoundland, unfortunately, is people getting into moose accidents because moose will just run like in front of your car and they're just so big, they'll crush a car. It's crazy. They're dangerous.
Ooh,
Yeah, so we hunt them
ooh, that
here.
could kill you actually.
Yeah.
That could kill you.
It kills a lot of
Yeah.
people every year.
Do they eat the moose? Is moose on
I
the menu?
haven't actually. I'm such a fake Newfoundlander. I haven't had any like moose, but like it's a really common thing here. Like people go hunting moose all the time. Yeah, they make moose
Oh
everything,
shoot.
like sausages, steaks, you name it.
Do you guys have moose tacos?
They could. I've never. I'm
If
fake,
not,
but
that's
ask a real newfie. Ask a baby.
yeah. No, that's I would be surprised if they had tacos in Newfoundland. But if I came out there, I'd bring some tortillas and bring some Mexican, Southern California
You'd
flair
have
to Newfoundland. Make some
to.
moose tacos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you should
Yeah.
also search up what being screeched in means. That's how you become an honorary Newfoundlander. If you ever come, you'll have to become screeched in as well.
Screeched in.
Yes, it's where you kiss a codfish and take a shot of screech and probably something else too. It's like classic Newfoundland. No, I know it's kind of daunting, but like you have to do it if you come to Newfoundland.
Wait, kiss a crawfish?
No, kiss a codfish.
Codfish. Okay.
Yeah.
I've only eaten cod. I don't even know what it looks like. It's probably ugly.
Probably.
Usually the good fish, yeah, is pretty raunchy looking.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I want to thank you for coming on, though. I mean, taking the time out of your schedule to do this. I wish it could be in person, but it's all good. We have a lot in common.
Yes.
And I have a little bit like a snap overview of your life story, but I believe it's something that could be helpful and inspirational to others to hear.
Thank you.
And I think let's go there. Let's dive deep and talk about it. So I know that. So you were there, but you've traveled a lot, right?
Yeah, like traveling has been my way of coping through it all until traveling kind of stopped working. So I'm really grateful in a sense that I was able to choose that coping mechanism because I was able to steer away from a lot of negative coping mechanisms because I was like putting my sadness and fear into something so pure and wonderful. So something to be said.
Yeah. What do you mean by it stopped working?
So I eventually reached a point where it was going on 4 years of traveling, and I was in the most beautiful place on earth. Do you know where Mont Blanc is?
Sounds familiar.
So Mont Blanc is like the biggest mountain in Europe, I believe. I could be wrong on that. And it's the most beautiful place I've ever been. And it was one of the most scariest experiences of my life. I was there and all I could think about was like, unfortunately, ending my life. And it was just terrifying. And I never had that feeling before while traveling. Like usually traveling would fulfill me and make me happy and kind of put a Band-Aid over everything. But that's when I was like, no, like something's really, really, really wrong. And I ended up flying home, like stopped traveling and prioritized my mental health because I actually had to. It was getting down to life and death at that point, which is scary because I was only so young.
Yeah. What do you mean? Oh, you still are.
I know. Thankfully. Scary though. Time's an illusion.
Yeah. I've read and I've heard from different people say that, when you travel to get away from your problems are traveling with you, and people don't realize that.
Yeah.
Unless your problem is like you got a hole in your roof and it's getting repaired at home, and you need to get away until they repair it. But I mean, if it's psychological, yeah, it's coming with you.
Yeah.
And it's just, But let's go back to when this all started. Like, how first, let's go back to how this all started. When did let's call them issues, like situation that caused the traumas? When did that all start? Like, what is the story behind that?
See, I kind of think my life all plays into one because honestly, my issues kind of started even before I was born because of my adoptive family and like, not my adoptive family, my birth family and what they were doing like while she was pregnant with me and stuff. So I was born with a few issues, and then I was born like adopted into this household. And don't get me wrong, like adoptions are beautiful and I'm really grateful for it. But with that, for me, unfortunately, came challenges. Like I grew up with a very sick brother. So I learned what mental illnesses were before I really understood many other things in life. Like at around the age of I think 7 was when I learned what they were because of him. So that kind of piled on stress. And that was kind of like where family trauma has kind of like manifested into. And because of the family trauma, it made me more susceptible, sorry, susceptible to get into my domestic violence situation at such a young age, because where I wasn't getting treated fairly at home, I was so used to it. So when I got that into that relationship, what I was receiving wasn't unfamiliar to me, if that makes sense. So yeah, so I ended up in my domestic violence situation, which wasn't the greatest. And then when I got out of that, like I turned to the police department for help, and they didn't help me either. And I pretty much lost everything because of that relationship. And that's when I pretty much fled home. I moved to Italy to kind of get away from it all. And don't I think I needed to go to Italy for a while. Like I think that trip was really necessary for me because I just needed to get away. But then the rest of it turned into me running away from my problems, which led to really bad PTSD, in which I then got into a serious mountain biking accident, which I don't know how to mountain bike at all. I just stopped caring about if I lived or died because of my mental health. And that has kind of led me here.
Well,
I know it's a lot.
let's revisit. Oh yeah, no, it's life. I mean, life is a lot. If people just give an overview of their life, so it's. But let's go back to your domestic violence situation. Like, what? How did that relationship start? Like, what was it, and how did it evolve from? When you usually enter a relationship, there's this honeymoon stage where everything's great, and this person says the right words, and you're like, "Is this the one? Is this did I hit the jackpot here?" Can you share what how that started and how it evolved into domestic violence?
Yeah. So he was the captain of a hockey team. And as a young girl, I think I was 17 when I met him. So, like, as a young girl, to get the captain of a hockey team is kind of a big deal. Like, that, it's like obviously.
In Newfoundland, it is.
Yeah, in Newfoundland at least, because slim pickings here really don't got many to choose from. So yeah, the captain of the hockey team, and started dating him, and everything in the beginning was fine. Like he was really good at loving. Like that's one thing, like love bombing right off the bat. But where we were so young, I honestly didn't really think much of it. And then eventually it kind of evolved into like severe verbal abuse, and then it evolved into physical abuse. Like actually on the 23rd of December was the day of the physical abuse began. So right before Christmas, which was tough. So yeah.
So with the abuse, like the verbal abuse, I mean, I think that people listen to this can learn from how it creeps up, right? Like, so did it start out? Because I'm pretty sure it didn't. The way he was talking to you at the end was the same as the beginning verbal abuse. Like, how did it start? Was it just? I mean, you could be as raw as possible. You don't have to like
Okay.
sugarcoating the story.
I would say like he started off by getting me to fall head over heels for him, like just by loving really hard and like flowing all the compliments, and but just being overly nice. But then it would kind of turn into like one thing slightly irritated him, and then he would make a slight dig at me, and then the digs would kind of get progressively worse. Like for example, I would be walking up the stairs, and then he would just say, "Oh, I definitely didn't fall in love with you for your butt," which very well might be true, but just no need to say it, Like that as like a young girl, like really stuck with me. And then eventually just kind of got worse until the verbal abuse was honestly what kind of crumbled me. And it got to the point where he was convincing me to kill myself, like giving me every reason why I didn't belong here on earth and everything. And he was giving me different means in which I could do so. But the thing about me is I've had, it was, which.
Wait. Hold on. Time out. He was actually telling you how to do it?
Yeah. So it was really bad, honestly. I talk so casually, but he was giving me methods in how I should do so and reasons why. But the thing is, because I had something before, like my adoption and everything, he was using that against me. Like my birth mom didn't want me here. She should have taken the abortion pill to take the world out of its misery. like that kind of stuff. So he would say things that made sense. And as a young girl, before my brain was developed, I really believed that because he wasn't wrong. So the verbal abuse all took me down, truthfully.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was really
That's
powerful with his words.
yeah, but in addition to that though, that's very sadistic
Yeah.
to just kind of, go there and talk to some. So he would give you methods. I'm sorry, my mind's blown. I didn't expect that.
I know,
Um,
especially for such a young
did
relationship.
Yeah, but well, this could happen at any age. I mean, actually, it's kind of, in my opinion, it's kind of worse when you're younger because you don't have the tools to understand like the it's called the serpent in the garden situation. You don't know when you're young, love is this cloud of gumdrops and lollipops and everything's great, and you don't realize like love can be weaponized.
Yeah, and you don't
And
realize the consequences associated with those, like the toxic love.
yes. So he was saying all the, geez,
Yeah.
Louise. Did he would flip back and be loving again?
See, yeah, it's
Was
so
it back and
funny.
forth?
I describe it as like a trance almost. Like he would he would be really nice at first and then something would set him off. But then he would get so angry, his eyes would like glaze over and it wasn't as if that was the person I was dating. That was someone else because he would just rage, but then he would snap out of it. He would almost realize what he was doing and what he was saying and then become overly apologetic and then like offer to take me out on a date, blah, blah, blah. So that's how the cycle ended up continuing. Or in like the worst case, he would buy me a new pair of Lulus, It was,
Lulu's?
yes, and I love Lululemon. So,
Oh, Lululemon. Okay.
yeah.
All right. I didn't know if there's some kind of
Oh,
Newfoundland like
no.
boots or something.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You know what? It's obviously I'm not a professional. I'm not a psychologist, but he's definitely dealing with some demons. I'm talking spiritually and psychologically. Someone that's a behavior that I would assume is learned to some degree,
Well,
but that's dark,
absolutely.
man. Yeah. So did you feel during the relationship that you could change him? Were you like,
Yeah.
oh, he's going to change?
Yeah.
Is that what kept you in there?
Yes. Because I think, especially seeing mental illnesses in men growing up with my brother, I was able to tell with him that something wasn't right. But me being me, like I wanted to help fix him. I was like, oh, like my brother got help. I can help you too. Like I know I've seen it all. So that's what kind of made me want to stay. But yeah, I couldn't fix him. He ended up becoming a cop.
LAPD? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he wishes, honestly.
No, I mean he'd fit right in.
Right?
No, I'm just kidding. I have friends that are in LAPD. I'm just cracking jokes. But wow. So the physical abuse, how did that start? Like, what was the because I think that your story could be a cautionary tale for women of all ages,
Yeah.
because this could happen at any time. A cautionary tale of what to look for, and so the verbal abuse built up over time.
Yeah.
And when did it start crossing over to the physical? Like, was there something that occurred? Like, was he started drinking heavily, or did you
See,
do
the
something like?
funny thing about my abuser was he was actually really against drugs and alcohol, like to the point where I missed out on my 19th birthday, which is the like equivalent as 21 in the States. So I wasn't allowed to do anything for that. So he wasn't bad like that. But it was so funny. Like nothing really like gave an indication that it would go that far with him until one day we were just in the car driving. I can't remember what we were arguing about, but we got into an argument and then he just did like a big left hook on my arm. And I just remember sitting there, honestly, in complete shock. I froze. I didn't have anything in me to like be like, what did you just do? I just sat there. And as he kind of repeatedly kind of kept going at my arm. And then that was the beginning of it all. that was when he kind of realized she wasn't going to fight back. I can keep doing this.
Wow. Yeah. And I know getting hit by a man as a man is hard. Like it's a very powerful strike. Like, getting hit by them. And I can imagine, obviously, yeah. I think imagine someone just being smaller, right? Getting hit by someone like that. So start out with a hit. How far did it go? How far did it get with the abuse?
Um, he was always very smart in how he did it. Like, he wouldn't ever give me a black eye or anything. His biggest thing was suffocation, was anything with making my airway cut off. But also, I think the biggest thing where I realistically could have died was we would be in the car and he would be getting into rages when he was behind the wheel. And in Newfoundland, we get snowstorms. The weather isn't the greatest. So what he would do, he would like drive super, super fast and then swerve while I was in the car, but in the middle of a snowstorm. So greasy roads. So it's a miracle that we didn't go off the roads, but it also got to the point where he was swerving so much that other drivers on the road were actually reporting him for drunk and reckless driving. So that the police would actually make routine visits to like my or his house to check, like, are you drunk driving? But where he was never drunk, he drove the breathalyzer clear. So he got away with it. And I just stayed quiet the whole time. So scary.
Yeah, yeah, that's a lot of psychological abuse. What's interesting is that some of the things you're mentioning, I know people that have been exactly through that. There's a woman who I can't air her podcast, and she was abused that way, where she was strangled multiple times, like even in one session, like to unconscious wake up and strangle back out, and and she like there's a psychological aspect to people who are abused. You're sometimes, if you don't deal with it, you're actually drawn to abusive people. Like your subconscious is drawn to it's like a trauma bond.
Yeah.
Attached to them. And believe it or not, it was like the day I was supposed to post her episode, because she talked about her history of abuse and how abusive the guy she had just ended a relationship with, well, who actually left her, he came back.
Oh, wow.
And so she took him back. And
yeah.
and you got to think, this woman, just to kind of put this out there, Kat, she started being abused physically in relationships in high school.
Wow.
She was mid-50s right now is when this, so her whole life, she never shook the attraction. She would enter these long-term relationships with horrible people. So that's why I'm hoping that your story could be one of like a
changing
like
your attraction.
Yes, changing the attraction there. So yeah, it's bad. So yeah, that's wild. So the suffocation thing, that's pretty insane. What did you tell yourself afterwards? Like, say after a suffocation incident, did you just ignore it and act like it didn't happen, or how'd you process that?
I'm really good at telling myself that things are okay when they're really falling apart. So I honestly think that's how I kind of got through it. I was like, well, also, he kind of manipulated me through it, honestly, because he would do it and I would be like, why are you doing this? Like, I don't understand. And then he would be like, because I would scream. That's how the suffocation would come to play. Like, I would scream in fear, but then he knew what screaming meant. Like, that means people would call 911 or something. So that's when he would like come from my neck to get the screaming to stop. And then I would be like, why are you doing this? And then he would be like, because like he wanted the screaming to stop, because what if someone hears? But he had me so manipulated that I was like, true, like what if someone hears me scream? Like he'll get in trouble. And since I cared about him so much, I didn't want him to get in trouble, even if it was at my expense, which is heartbreaking.
But what the heck's he doing to get you to scream?
See, he would so many various different things. Like it would start up in an argument and then I would walk away from the argument. But then he would kind of chase me around the house, like crazy things. Sometimes he would get a steak knife, like, and chase me with the knife and I would scream in terror. Yeah, it was like really wild stuff, honestly. And like there was times like like this guy had a foot over me, at least 100 pounds on me, like a really big guy. So I would also go lock myself in the bathroom and stuff and like scream just to get away from him. And he really did not like the screaming at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is that's that's pretty intense. So once you got to the physical part, when did how long did it take for it to start affecting you, like mentally? Like when did your mind, your brain was like, too much, I can't handle this?
Honestly, I held on for a really long time. I would say it took about close to 2 years before I really started to break. Like, and I wasn't telling anyone at all, but people eventually started to catch on because I lost every bit of weight on me. And I was always kind of known for my contagious laugh and smile, and all of that kind of left. Like, although I was saying that I was okay, people were like, no, like there's something up. And yeah, so about 2 years I held on. No.
It took 2 years
Yeah.
and it was just gradual. Like, can you describe what happens when you start slipping? Like, just when it becomes too much, you become overwhelmed?
I would say I had just was looking in the mirror and I was no longer able to recognize myself. Like, I was crying myself to sleep every night. And I do remember actually one time, like being in my bed and like crying because I was like, this is going to be my life forever because I didn't really see a way out. But then I almost had a light bulb moment. I was like, this is what I'm calling love. Like, this isn't what I want love to mean to me, like at all. And yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. So you started unraveling there. And so how did it end? Like what occurred? Like what?
Okay, so the ending, my parents like didn't know what was going on, but they knew something was going on. And it just how happened to be like that around that time that eventually people started to catch on was when I had a trip to England booked to visit my family. So I flew out to England, and I think there I was like, like the distance did me really good. I was able to put two and two together that I was like, no, like I need to get out of this. So I texted him and I was like, I will not tell anyone what you did. Just drop off my stuff and let's never talk again. And he agreed. So I flew home from England alone that trip. And then he dropped off my stuff and I was like, okay, like we're closing this chapter, whatever. And then fast forward maybe like a week or something. And I was in my house just getting ready for a concert and I heard a knock at the door. And I decided to ignore that knock because I was excited to see my friends for the first time ever since isolation and stuff like that. And I was like, no, I don't want to talk. But then I heard someone walk in and he was the only person to know where the outside key was hidden. So I was like, well, this isn't good. So I came out and I saw him like standing in my house and I was like, what's going on? Like, we're broken up. And long story short, that was the night that I eventually did have to call 911 because things escalated. And yeah.
When things escalated, you mean it got physical?
They did get physical. And it got to the point where I was living alone and I was terrified.
Oh my goodness. So when you and I mean, like, so how did you end it though? Did you tell them, hey, we're done, I don't want to talk to you? Or did you just pack up and move? How do
No,
you end that? Because I know that's hard to get out of abusive relationships because some abuser just doesn't accept it's over.
he was a very smart abuser. So when like that night came and I had to call 911, he was in the police cadet force at that point. So he knew what calling 911 meant. Like, he knew that if he was still around me by like when the cops were coming, he would get arrested. So as soon as I called 911, that's when he started to back off because he didn't want any legal forces on him.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. So is this when your traveling began at that point?
Yes, that is when. So,
How-
sorry, you go ahead.
I was, oh, no, I was going to ask you. I have to ask. I don't mean to like make light of your situation, but How do you afford to travel all over the world? What's going on,
No,
man?
see,
Are
this is the
everybody in
amazing
Newfoundland
part,
rich?
right? No, we're definitely not rich here. But no, actually, I got paid to travel, which is like the other,
What?
yeah. So that's why I also like it's really cool about my story because everyone thinks it's so hard to travel. And everyone was like, how are you doing this? I got paid the entire way, and my flights and everything were covered. So that you can travel easily. You just have to know how to do it.
Okay, I guess it's something we'll talk about offline, I
No,
guess.
well, I'll tell it now. No, so I'm sorry.
I'm curious, man. Like, how do I travel for? How do I get paid to travel?
Okay, yeah. So I've always loved working with children. So I Googled when I was in England that trip, like student jobs abroad, because I knew at that point, like when we were breaking up, he was going to be like handed his whole life on a silver platter. Like he was going to become a cop and blah, blah, blah. Versus me, I had my, like, I was a wreck. So I was like, okay, like I need something here. Like I cannot sit in bed sad and scared, like terrified. So I Googled student jobs abroad. I found au pairing. Do you know what au pairing is?
Oh yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
So I
Okay.
put my name on like that and got started with that.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. I mean, that's. I think here we call it au pair
Oh, fun.
because we pronounce it different, au pairing. But yeah, it's. I think it's hard out here for older males to do.
Yes. I can see that.
Yeah, unless they want a manny. That was there was a time a few years ago that that this term called a manny. It's a male
Oh
nanny,
my gosh.
and so and celebrities used to have them because they could do all the stuff the husband could do, like carry heavy bags, pack, basically be a pack mule while you go out and do stuff and just help out a little bit. So okay, so you traveled. That's awesome to get away. So and traveling gave you relief. You know what? I don't know if this is what happened with you, but it sounds like this. And I find this amazing. This has happened to me. Even I've been in a few dysfunctional relationships. Yeah, a few dysfunctional relationships, but some of them, like at the level when it comes to manipulation, I've only been in one that was heavily manipulated by a diabolical personality
Oh
type,
no.
and yeah, diabolical, real bad. We're like no one could top them. Well, unless no, yes they can. They're probably dead. You know, like how you have someone who kills the person. Yeah, short of that, this person's pretty diabolical. But what I've always found interesting is that it people like let's call you, for the lack of a better term, let's call you the victim and the abuser, right, or the abuser. Um, when there's a break like that and it's finalized and say it's agreed, like both parties understand, like it's over. It's like the abuser doesn't go through the same level of mourning and pain as the victim. Like the victim, like we're like it's like someone you know the cartoons where someone gets smacked and their head spins around then
Yes.
they're like they don't know where they're at. We're
Literally.
there. Yeah, and they're like doo 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 on to the next victim. Like I was it like that in your case?
So, yeah, kind of. So, my abuser was actually married 6 months after the investigation.
Woo!
Yeah, to one of the
You're
many
wasting no
girls.
time.
Yeah, no, definitely not. He's a real charmer, as you can tell. But yeah, no, he was married to one of the many girls he cheated on me with. So that was lovely.
Oh, so he was cheating
Oh,
too.
he was doing it all. Like you name it. Anything bad that you can think of in a relationship, he has done.
Oh my goodness.
Serial cheater.
Okay.
So yeah.
Serial cheater.
So much so that when I went to it, like I've been to a psychic once, and like the psychic pointed him out, and he was like, "I'm surprised you didn't get an STD because of how much he cheated." And I was like, "Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's
Most Newfoundlanders not really.
really."
It's not. We, maybe we're in California, definitely in the LA area. But okay, yeah, okay. Did you know he was cheating during the relationship, or is this after the fact you found out?
No, I know.
How'd you rationalize that? How'd you rationalize the cheating?
Honestly, I think
Because there's nothing. Wait, can I say one thing?
yes.
There's nothing wrong with rationalized cheating when you're in it. I mean, it's wrong, but don't beat yourself up
Yeah.
because you're in it. It happens, It's almost like you love them, you give them the benefit of doubt,
Yeah.
or you trust, But so I just want to put that out
Thank
there. Go
you.
ahead. Sorry.
No, you're so fine. But I think like the biggest thing with how he got me to stay was his verbal abuse was so bad that he convinced me I was nothing. And he convinced me that I was the ugliest person to ever walk the planet. He convinced me that no one will ever want me, blah, blah. And I really believed him, like truthfully, wholeheartedly believed everything that he was saying. So I was like, okay, like, even though he's cheating, like, I can't leave because I'll find no one else. Like, I have to just stay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's how I rationalize it, was believing I was nothing, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. They break you down.
Yeah.
They break you down. Yeah. So that's, I don't want to throw around the cliche terms of what people use now to describe people, but he's a malignant personality.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. 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 My case with dealing with someone like that. Yeah. Did your therapist ever talk to you about narcissists?
Yes. And I've done a lot of reading on them.
A lot of reading. Yeah. See, I dealt with a malignant narcissist not malignant, covert, which is malignant's kind of out there. Like, see how yours is up front and putting you down? Mine plays the victim to get the same results.
Oh, wow.
So what they'll do is, what she would do, real story, I would confirm, like, what's up with this, or something wrong, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And she goes, hey, my nerves are real bad, and I would never do that, but I can't argue. I'll have a panic attack. And like, you're like, like, oh, no, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to protect them.
Because you care.
And, yeah, but they're doing the same thing. So instead of being aggressive, they're using the other end of being a victim to get you to help. It's almost like that story. You ever hear that old cartoon? Not cartoon. That story about the crap. There's so many of them, but there's a longer one that's an African story, but it's kind of unusual, and I don't know if I should say it because it's unusual.
It's free.
And you want to hear it?
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
So I was going to say the one about the frog and the scorpion. All right, this is so the frog and the scorpion's an easy one. Have you heard that story?
No.
Okay, the frog and the scorpion, where there's a flood coming, or something bad was happening, and they needed to cross a creek, and the frog could swim across the creek.
Yeah.
So the scorpion was like, hey, can you give me a ride? And across the creek, and the frog was like, no. And he was like, why? He goes, because you're a scorpion. He goes, please, if you help me, and the scorpion turned into a victim.
Oh my gosh.
If you help me, across there, please, I have a family, I have blah, blah, blah. He's saying this thing, the frog, he appealed to the frog's heart.
Yeah, honestly.
And the frog was like, I trust you, because he felt so bad. It makes you trust.
It does.
When they get into your heart. And the scorpion got on the frog's back, and the frog began to swim, and the scorpion goes right out there in the middle, and right in the middle, and the scorpion takes his stinger, is like, and poisons the frog and kills it. And so as the frog is paralyzed, he's looking at the scorpion and going, why would you do that? And he goes, it's just my nature. I don't know. And then the frog goes, why would you do that? You're going to kill us both. And he goes, it's just my nature. Because they're dysfunctional people. They'll even destroy themselves in the process. They're just dysfunctional.
Yeah.
The African story. Yes. Sorry, I gotta tell you.
I'm ready for it.
Now this is the African story. Okay. Remember, this is an African story.
Okay.
So I'm going to use the words that they used, not in African, but in English. But it's not a traditional story. So you got to think of their mindset, African.
Okay.
So there was a farmer out in the field, and he heard along the tree line, he heard rumbling, and then a snake came out of the tree line, and the snake's like, farmer, please, can you help me? There's some men who are hunting me, and they'll kill me. And he does the same. He does this whole story about how he has a family and his life. Woe is me, and please help me. And he appealed to the farmer's heart. So what the farmer did was, the farmer pulled down his pants and he squatted down, and he let the snake crawl up his butt. It literally says crawled up his butt.
Oh my God!
You can look up the story. It's called Snake and the Farmer. So he lets a snake crawl up there, right? Then the hunting guys come. They go, hey, farmer, have you seen this snake? Have you seen this snake? Blah, 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 long, Farmer's like, nah. Snake? No, but if I do, I'll let you know if I see a snake. They're like, okay, and they pass on. So then the guy's like, all right, whew, I saved you, snake. So he pulls out his pants and squats. Go ahead and get out. The snake was like, no, man, it's nice and cozy in here in your stomach, and there's food, there's everything I need. I think I'm sticking around. So the snake's in there eating, living it up, spilling his poison on accident when he's biting things, and it's making the farmer sick. And the farmer doesn't know what to do. So then, the farmer's just miserable. And then this white crane shows up, and the crane shows up and goes, asks the farmer, what's going on, dude? Why are you holding your stomach? And why is your stomach so big? The snake goes, dude. And he tells him the story about the snake and what this, with the people chasing the snake and being friendly to the snake, getting double crossed. And now the snake's in his stomach and won't get out. And so and he goes, well, I got an idea. And the farmer goes, shh, shh, shh. He can hear you. So you have to whisper it in my ear. So the crane whispers, hey, man, what I'll do is this. I'll put some poop behind you, and some flies will come and gather around the poop. And then you squat down by it, and the snake will want to eat the flies because snakes love flies, or that type of snake. And when he comes out, I'll grab him and I'll pull him out and this and that. So they're like, all right. So they set their plan, put their plan into play. Drop the deuce right there in front of the farmer. The farmer squats down. They got the flies there, and he squats. And you can see the snake's tongue kind of like popping out the butthole.
That's
It
so
literally
funny.
says butthole in the story. It says butthole in stories. And then the snake sticks his head out and sees the flies. So he goes to the flies, and he starts eating the flies. And this crane's like hiding by the farmer's thigh, and he sticks his head around and goes, boom, grabs him, and pulls the snake out and swallows him and eats him. He's like, ooh, and I got a free meal out of it too. Yes. And the farmer's like, thank you so much. You saved my life. The crane said, hey, no problem. And then the guy grabs the crane by the neck and ties it by his feet and holds it upside down and takes it home to cook it for dinner.
Stop.
And then
I did not expect that.
Yeah. So he goes home, and he has the crane hanging upside down in his kitchen, getting ready to butcher him. And his wife is like, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm making a special recipe. It's 5 crane soup. I just need to get 4 more. I got 1 right here, and I'm going to get 4 more. And the wife's like, how could you do this after this crane saved you from a life with a snake in your stomach and dealing with all that poison, which could have killed you also? And that you should be ashamed of yourself. And she was going off on him, and he just didn't feel any guilt. And he was like, still making the soup, so you can have some if you like. If not, I'll eat it all myself. And she goes, no, this is unacceptable. So what she does is she gets a knife and she cuts the rope. And the crane plops down and looks at her and goes, thank you.
Oh.
Finally, someone who's reasonable. Then he reaches over and he pecks her eye out and swallows it and flies out the window.
What?
Yeah.
What a story.
Yeah. Yes, that's the end of the story. That's the end of the story. But
Wow.
I know when I first read it, I was like, what's the moral? What's the moral of the story?
Yeah, wow.
But the moral of the story is being a good person doesn't mean you'll be treated good in return.
No, literally. I love that message, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Wow.
So that long story about the snake up the
That
butt.
was a great story, but it's small. Whoa.
But it's a bunch of it's a bunch of people doing the right thing, trying to help someone or be there for someone, and they still get screwed in the end.
Yeah. Well, yes, absolutely. If there's one thing,
I know.
I love it. No,
I'm crazy.
I love the story. If it's one I'll remember for a while. But
yeah, and you can look it up.
I will.
You can look the African story, Farmer and the Crane.
I'll look it up.
There's a clean version. Go to original version where it has like butthole, snake. You're like, oh.
I'll be reading it for a bedtime story.
It's a kid's story there.
A kid's story?
It's a kid. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with Bender. You're so funny. That's hilarious.
Sorry. As I was going into the story, I was like, maybe I should have just left it the scorpion and the frog.
Well, doing now. That's so funny. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, but going back, believing to tie it into your story. The reason why I'm saying that to tie it into your life is that I can tell you're a good person, and when a narcissist, they're predatory upon nice people,
Yes.
and what they do is they fill you out. So he's kind of filling you out. Do I need to play the, they love bomb to get the hooks in, right?
Yeah.
Because let me guess, you're a very empathetic person.
Yes.
Yes. Are in the universe of relationships in psychology, and you could look this up, the most susceptible people to narcissists are empaths.
Literally.
And
yeah.
Yes, because we can fix them.
Right.
But we have passion too. Yeah, we have passion. And so, but my point is that he tuned into your passion, because when someone's in love with you, you could see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
He saw it in you.
Yes, absolutely.
He's like, oh yeah, now it's time just to use you, or use you as the object of whatever's inside of me to just vomit it on you.
Yeah.
And just put it on you and damage you.
Yeah.
And they don't think in those words, but that's what they're doing. They know they're damaging.
Oh, absolutely.
But they just, they're very self-centered. But yeah. That's what I meant.
No, if there's one thing I've learned just like throughout my life, like out of everything, like nice people don't always win. Being nice won't get you everywhere. Like kindness gets taken advantage of. And I'm a very kind person. I will always do anything to help other people and whatever. And he really took advantage of that, like so much so that he had me manipulated and my kindness manipulated so much that I helped him get into the police force because of that. No, I know. And it's something.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up.
I try to not, like that's like been one of the toughest parts, like knowing I'm a reason he's a cop, because I don't think he would have been able to be a cop if it weren't for me helping him. Yeah. Do you want me to tell you a story?
Yeah, and if you'd have got, yes, please. And if you'd exposed him instead of helping him, it would have definitely kiboshed his,
exactly.
chances.
So the story.
Go for it. Yes, I'd love to hear this.
Yeah. So the story behind it all was in Newfoundland, you used to have a full like university degree before you could go on to be a police officer. But a few years ago, they ended up changing that. So you only needed 1 year of post-secondary completed before you could go on to like be a cop. So as soon as he heard that, he was like, okay, like I want to be a cop. And in my head, I was like, that's very hypocritical. Like you should not be a cop. Like,
the cops should be here taking
exactly.
you.
Like you are going to be arresting people who have done the exact same thing that you did. The math isn't mathing here. But
exactly.
Yeah, we let it slide. We're happy for him because we didn't think it would happen anyways. We thought he would fail out. But I had a feeling he would pass the interview with flying colors because he is the most likable person you'll ever meet. Like, so polite, whatever. I knew he would do that, but I thought he would fail the polygraph test. So when it started to get close to the polygraph stage, he started to get really nervous because he was worried about what would come up on the polygraph test. So he Googled how to cheat on a polygraph test. And in order to do that, he had to make sure his heart rate didn't fluctuate and that he didn't sweat while lying. So he essentially had to believe his own lie, but he needed my help for that. So what he had me do for the weeks leading up to the polygraph test, he would have me tell him repeatedly, you didn't hurt me, you're going to pass the test, like over and over again, to the point where he really believed it. So when he went into the polygraph test, I thought he would fail, but he actually ended up passing because I helped him that much, like made him believe that he didn't do what he did. So when they asked him those questions, like it actually didn't spike. And yeah, I've never been, yeah.
No, I get it. I understand why you did it.
I was also scared of what would happen if I didn't.
Yes, kind of under duress. But that has to be surreal to sit there to help train someone to believe that they're not abusing you.
Yeah, honestly.
And you're the victim. Like if I was someone who witnessed it, a third party, and I'm trying to convince them to pass it, that's even different, but it's so personal.
Yeah.
Because you experienced it.
Well, he had me almost second guessing it. I was like, maybe you didn't actually hurt me as much as I'm like feeling like, maybe I am like making all of this up, blah, blah, blah. Like he had made me believe that I was crazy, like, and that he
Yeah.
was an angel and whatever. But if I'm going to be completely honest, sorry, if I'm going to be completely honest,
Oh no, no, I'm just tripping off what you're
oh,
saying.
sorry.
When you say like he's crazy, I mean, he made you think, he's all innocent like an angel and you're crazy. I'm like, wow, he's putting in some overtime.
Oh, did he ever? He didn't stop. Like I'm not joking. He had me withered down to where I was nothing. Like I had no sense of self. I was just here to make sure he got far in life, and it didn't matter what happened to me. But in complete honesty, the weight of it all has only started to set in, I think, like now, what I actually got him to do. Like he has a gun, and in Canada we don't have like guns. Like he has the most powerful
You don't
gun.
roll like us out here.
No, we don't. If you have a gun, like you're a big tough man. So it's the fact that they gave him a gun. It's only sank in recently. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird because in America, you could be like his personality type and get a gun.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you probably could become a cop too.
Probably.
And yeah, no, because I know people that have went into law enforcement and they have a background in like, well, it depends which agency, but like Los Angeles County, the city of Los Angeles, their police department. I personally know people that have like had a background like abusing hard drugs like meth.
Wow.
And they disclosed it.
Oh wow.
And they still let them on. But there's out here, I don't know about we're in Newfoundland, or in Canada, but there's not. I mean, out here, there's not a lot of people that want to be in law enforcement. They have a pretty controversial reputation.
See, I think in Canada, the police don't have as bad of a rep as I think they do in the States. So I do think it's a bit different in that regard. But here, I think like where we aren't allowed to carry guns on us, the people that are power hungry and are like power, like controlling hungry and stuff, do tend to go after the policing profession because that's the only job in Canada you'll get that fulfillment with.
Yeah, yes, you could. It's the same thing here, but yeah, but it brings in dysfunctional people, and I think that process of the not metal detector, the polygraph.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The polygraph out here, or even there, I think the polygraph, it seems to favor psychopaths.
Absolutely.
Because psychopaths don't feel emotion, and that's what it's measuring.
Oh, that's so true.
And so they can get through. Like they could have freaking be a serial killer, but they'll get through because they don't feel that.
Literally, it's scary.
Yeah. Yes, and I'm pretty sure you've seen on the news. Our police out here, they need training. They need some training.
I feel like
I'd rather the military.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, I'd rather the military. They have more, at least firearm training.
Yeah,
and it's safer. Yeah,
absolutely.
So, when did this evolve into? I know that your life kind of spiraled. Not your. I don't want to use the word spiraled. I apologize, but kind of became challenging to the point where that overwhelming.
Yeah,
is overwhelming. Overwhelming to the point that you had contemplated taking your own life. Or did you contemplate, or did you actually attempt?
I contemplated it. I think, because where I saw my brother growing up, I think obviously that's such a hard thing for me to go through, seeing that at such a young age. But in complete honesty, because I saw it and because I felt the pain of watching someone go through it, he's the reason why I didn't, honestly. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I've been in a very similar situation where I was pretty close to, doing that. And I didn't think about anyone else. And it wasn't, I actually got into it. A person in my life, this happened about 4 days ago. We actually had a conversation about this because they wanted to understand. And this is someone who's very close to me, and I was trying to explain to them what, in my case, what it was like to feel when you reach that point when you want to delete yourself. I think that's the term people say now, right? But I wanted to delete myself. And so, well, you didn't think about family? No, you had a friend, because I have a close friend of mine who took his own life I think it's been 4 years now.
Wow, I'm so sorry.
And I was literally the last person who spoke to him. Like, we were on the phone talking. Yeah, all right, we'll
Wow.
meet up. And he's like, yeah, yeah. He got off the phone with me and just set up the rope, did everything, and by
Wow.
himself. Like, you couldn't tell. He paid his bills up to that point, everything.
Wow.
So I was trying to explain to them, like, I didn't think of anyone. She goes, how could you not think of it? When I said, this is what it's like. If you're in the World Trade Center when it got hit by the jet airplanes and that fuel's kicking off, act like the fuel is overwhelming emotional pain. It feels similar. Overwhelming emotional pain can overwhelm you just like physical pain. And it actually causes physical pain. Emotional pain can make you hurt. We know it lightly, like sometimes someone could break your heart or make your stomach hurt when your feelings are hurt, right? Just extrapolate, multiply that out. So if you saw a cracked window, you see relief. You know, jumping out that window
Right.
is going to end your life. But you're not thinking, man, what will my family think? You're thinking, I can't handle this heat. You're so overwhelmed. You will go.
Yeah.
And I said, it's the same thing where you're just overloaded. And it's, for me, I didn't think of anyone. I couldn't think of anything. What I was doing was, if you want to use the World Trade Center equivalent, I was waiting, which worked out. I was waiting for it to get like a little bit more for the fire to get closer.
Yeah.
Because it was already, because the heat's throwing off. You already feel like you're burning, right? I was like, and probably would have jumped. Like, I was right there, but a friend checked on me.
Oh my God.
He saved my life.
Wow, that's powerful.
So, yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
I was dying. But in my mind, I already accepted it's a wrap.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Wow.
And now I look back and it horrifies me.
Yeah,
think,
absolutely.
oh, does this scare you to think that you went that far?
It does. Like, for me, well, there's such a big stressing point is check in on your friends, like, first of all, because, like, for me, after the abuse, I ended up losing everything and everyone. Like, I lost my family, I lost every friend, I lost everything. So,
How'd that happen?
okay, so which one do we want to start with, the friends or the family?
Wait, sorry. Go ahead and finish your statement about suicide. Then
Okay,
we'll
yeah.
go to that. I
Oh,
apologize.
you're so
You
fun.
just have so many.
I know, there's just so much, right? I know. Okay,
Yeah.
crazy. But so yeah, I ended up losing everyone. And when there's a time that I really needed someone to save me, but there was no one around to save me. So I had to learn how to save myself, which was really hard because I really needed someone to check in on me and I really needed a hug and I just needed someone to tell me it was going to be okay. And no one did. So one of the scariest things I've ever done for myself was realize that there's no one here to save me. So it's going to be life or death. And I had to make that choice for myself. And if I ended it now, then I wouldn't be able to achieve my ultimate goal of being a good mom one day. So because of how badly I wanted to be a mom, when there was no one else there around to save me, that goal kept me driving. And that is why I'm here today, because I want to give my babies a life that I didn't have.
Good.
Scary though. It's really scary.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, at the time it's not for me, but afterwards you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like someone telling you, like, do you know that when we pulled you out of that car, it exploded right afterwards? You're like that's what it feels like. Like,
absolutely.
Like dodging a
I
bullet.
think your analogy of it all was really good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was trying to find a way to explain because when my friend did it, I actually was upset with him, and up until I experienced it myself, I thought, you're weak. I mean, blunt. I love him. He's a good guy. But I was like, dude, I've been through so much in my life. You come on, dude.
No,
like,
I get that.
It didn't make sense. And now I'm like, okay, I get it. Because it's not just the event that triggered him off or the final thing that was the last straw, but everything that built up to that last straw. It was life.
Exactly.
It's all of it. And it could be heavy.
Yeah. Well, for me, it wasn't the fact that I didn't want to keep going. I really did want to keep going and I wanted to keep on living my life, but I just actually couldn't because for me, at least in my life, it was just one thing after another. And it became really heavy for me. Being like such a young girl, carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders completely alone, I couldn't do it anymore. Like, I needed something to change, or else I was going to be 6 feet under.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So how did what happened with your family and friends? Like what how did that go sideways?
Okay, so as I said before, like he was captain of a hockey team. And so that meant, and at that young age, like people are so immature, like we're only 17, like 17 to 19, that kind of age group. So very immature. And people are going to side with the popular person. And I was the shy little blonde girl, didn't really say much. Like you wouldn't hear very much out of me. So by the end of it, like it was kind of he said versus she said, because no charges were laid, because he got away with it like that. It made it look like I was lying about it all. So I kind of got pinned as the psychopath who lied about the abuse to try and ruin his career. So I lost my friends through that, because a lot of friends, it was easier to side with the hockey player. And I lost,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead. So you went on a campaign then of
Yeah.
smearing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, got it.
It,
And then what was the other
and
part?
also just friends did not, it was easier to believe him because his reputation, honestly. And like, oh, he was an attractive guy and that a lot of girls wanted. So it was easier for people to go after him than for people to be on my side.
You know, there's been research that has shown that people tend to trust attractive people
Really?
more
I
than,
can see
yeah, you
that.
can look that up. Yeah, and that's why they're more successful at sales
I
and
can see that.
job interviews and things like that.
Yeah, I can see
It's
that.
just, yeah.
Yeah. But then my
Wow.
family, though, that's where a lot of the pain. This is heartbreaking, honestly. So, growing up, like I didn't really have the best relationship with my family, partially because of the amount of like stress, like things ended up happening with my brother, blah, blah, blah. Like our family dynamic was never the greatest. But in my heart, like I actually really did believe that if something serious in life happened, like they would show up for me, and which parents should, even though I wasn't there, like blood or whatever. So
Hmm.
it ended up coming down to the end, and I told my dad while we were out on a walk. And initially he was really supportive about it all. He was like, yeah, like we're gonna get through this kind of deal. And then when I went to tell my mom, this is like where she broke my heart again. I went to her with tears streaming down my face, like kind of gasping for breath. And I told her what had happened, and she was lying on her bed playing on her phone. And then she yelled at me and said, well, what did you do? And yeah, I never quite got past that. Not yet, at least. So after that, I was basically banned about talking about the relationship in the household. I wasn't allowed to speak on it. They were angry that I started an investigation, because that meant they had to come home from England. And yeah, so I lost them because of that. They just didn't want to deal with it or hear about it. So yeah, and I was
Wow.
banned from going to therapy, and until I was able to pay for it on my own, even though they had insurance plans that could have like helped me through it all. Yeah, no, it was tough. I like when I say I got PTSD on my own, like no one helped me through this. I've done this on my own. It's been hard. Oh,
Jeez.
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Thank
That's
you.
and I know some parents can be tough. I know someone personally who was she was sexually abused by her
Oh
stepdad.
wow.
And her stepdad had been her stepdad since she was a baby. Like I'm talking 11 years
Wow.
old.
That's
And he
heartbreaking.
began to abuse her as in her teen, or tried to.
Yeah.
And she told her mother, I think at 15 or 16, she told her mom, like, he tried to.
Wow.
And her mom was like, do you want to lose this, what we have, this life, this house? And made it seem like it was
Her fault, kind of.
her her fault. But yeah, we can tell, but you're going to ruin it for everyone, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And that's a really screwed up, you know, predicament or situation to put someone in.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, your parents have they come around?
No, unfortunately. Like, I think I'm at a point in my life, honestly, where I've had a lot of losses in my life, and a very like large variety of amount of losses. And honestly, keeping them in my life, at this point is kind of causing me more heartache than what it's worth. Like,
Yeah.
I think just because my number one goal in my life is just to be a good mom one day. That's all I live for. That's my number one motivation. And I'm so grateful for that. But the thought of a mother doing that to her child makes me personally very sick. So it's kind of crazy that I'm the little girl that I'm talking about here, that actually happened to me. So I think for what I've decided, it's almost better to wish them well, but not fully allow them into my present.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry. I didn't know it was still kind of a.
It's okay. Like, I'm so grateful because, like, I do think that they tried their best, honestly, because they were kind of at a disadvantage. They adopted us when they were older. So they were part of a generation in which mental health didn't really exist. So they've also been learning along the way. And I think I've had to learn a lot of really tough lessons. And eventually you have to learn the lesson that you have to put yourself first, even if that means cutting out people who hold titles in which those titles are supposed to hold value to you, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes. No, I understand.
It's tough though, but
I feel you.
you learn to be throughout the pain of it all. I ended up learning to just have a very strong appreciation for myself, because when I say I've got PTSD, I bet PTSD. No one helped me. Mom and dad don't really get the credit here. Like, you know, I did this, so I'll pat myself on the back.
And what did you do to beat PTSD?
So I will travel to get myself through it and like put my sadness into kids. But it's kind of funny with me. So I got my PTSD diagnosis, but at that point, my trust issues were fairly bad. So what I would do, I would go into therapy and stuff, and I would kind of pick their brains and like different coping mechanisms and different strategies like I could try, but try on my own and stuff, and kind of self-soothed myself because I was so terrified to trust anyone. So yeah, I ended up kind of doing a lot of self-work, working with myself. And then actually, when was it? I think in March, I had the appointment again with my doctors in which we went over the diagnostic criteria for PTSD. And I no longer meet the requirements for it. So that's what
Oh, good.
yeah. So that's what I mean when I beat PTSD. Like, it means, like, obviously, I still very much have trauma and I have a lot of it, like a lot of different kinds of it. But it means I'm sleeping again. It means I'm eating. It means I'm not getting flashbacks anymore. And I actually lost like about close to half of my hair. I fell out because of the stress. So my hair is growing back. And yeah,
Yeah.
I know I'm like a normal human again. And I'm so grateful. So, like, it's been really tough, but I find a lot of courage and like pride in the fact I'm only 25 years old and I have come so far. So it's only up from here.
Yeah, that's good. Did you do EMDR and all?
Yes, I did a lot of EMDR actually.
You EMDR. So how was that? Like, how would you? Because I'm an advocate of EMDR. I talk about it so much on this podcast about I think it's one of the greatest things that God has blessed the world with through humans, or whatever you want to say it came about. But how did it work for you?
So
Did it like how was your experience?
EMDR for me was fine, but I had a big issue with disassociation. So I had to get my disassociation under control first, but after that it did wonders, especially with the abuse. Like, rewiring how my brain thought about all of the physical abuse, it really, really helped.
It's good that you did it soon after.
Yeah.
Too, because you don't people don't realize how abuse affects the way you process everything, the world, your relationships, the way you just interact. Like when we see on the news or online where someone's in the drive-through losing their mind because they got the wrong order, and if you don't realize, like, that could it's not the order. It's not what they ordered. It's something else. It's trauma, or there's something that's just it's they can't their cup's running over. It's full.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So it just happened to spill out right there over that milkshake, you know, as opposed to the
If
event.
there's one thing I've learned, that it's if a person does something questionable, there's usually more to the story. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Very good. You're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah, right. And when you see people that do questionable things, you kind of understand. Like, I mean, you don't condone it. You might even understand what they physically did, but you're like,
There's something more.
something has to be. There's something.
Yeah.
There's something more.
Like, there's no way that a person could get this annoyed at just this small little thing.
Yeah, or just do something weird. Like when we
Yeah.
see people like this is gonna sound judgmental. I apologize, whoever's gonna listen to this, but like I this is the title I've given myself, the Tattoo Whisperer.
Stop. I love that.
I can look at people's tattoos,
Oh, really?
and it kind of gives me an idea of their mental state.
Oh my gosh.
I kid you not.
If I show you my tattoo, will you be able to guess my mental state?
Oh no, if it's just one, it's if it's I don't.
No, I
well,
get what you
maybe.
mean.
I mean, if you have like Homer Simpson, a big cross your stomach, we need to talk. We need to talk. But like someone who might have like just randoms. It looks like a graffiti wall.
Yes.
Like a spider web, a skull, Jesus. I hate my mom. Only God can judge me. It's just contradictory gibberish all over. And it just has a certain way it's on. You can tell it's not well thought out. It's impulsive, in the moment kind of things. I'm like, yeah, there's you got something going on.
Yeah.
Now, if you got like a sleeve, like say if you got a sleeve that says, Italy, like you loved Italy, and there's some like Italian saying, and like whatever, that's different. But if it's just, I'm talking about.
No, I get what you mean.
Randomness.
You can definitely tell.
Can't you see that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like you're walking in public in warm weather, you see someone, you're like, oh yeah, he's been.
Yeah, you can definitely tell. Absolutely. And I think that's so funny that you mentioned that, though, because all of my tattoos are kind of related to my mental health. But I kind of agree with what you just said. And because of that, I made my tattoos like you would have never been able to tell that they're related to my mental health ever.
Well, you got to explain.
Okay, so number one, it's my little teacup. Oh, wait.
Okay, yeah, I see it. Teacup.
Okay, should I tell you what it's about now or after?
Of course, yeah. Oh no, however you feel comfortable.
Okay, so this is my little teacup tattoo, and so my grandmother was my best friend growing up, and sweet little thing, like she actually did something for me that I only later learned the value of, like now. So in times of severe arguments with my family, she would be who I used to call up. Like it's like, gonna get Nanny on the phone, like she's gonna stop it. And like she actually would, like she would I would tell on my parents, and then she would yell at them through the phone to get them to stop. And so she saved me from the abuse. But she actually passed away 6 days before my 10th birthday, which was really, and I was really excited about spending my 10th birthday with her, because I thought like turning double digits is kind of a big deal. So, but yeah, I lost her 6 days before, and I always knew I wanted a tattoo in memory of her, but I didn't know what. She always called me Nan's princess, and I was like, you know what, that's really obvious. So I was like, what else can I get? And growing up, we always used to have tea parties together. And when she passed away, I put a teddy bear holding a teacup and a teapot in with her, like in her grave with her. So this is my little teacup in memory for my grandmother, because when she passed away, I lost my best friend, but also the only person fighting with me instead of against me. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I don't even know how I'm going to show these. I might just.
Oh, you could describe it. You could describe it.
On my ankle, I have a sailboat, and it's because Newfoundland is an island, and I have my doubts that I'm going to end up living in Newfoundland, because it's a place of hurt for me. Like I'm ready to kind of get out, but It's
Cali. What about Cali?
absolutely catch me there next week, honestly. But yeah, so like my sailboat kind of signifies like no matter how far I sail away from Newfoundland, Newfoundland will always be my home because I'm very proud to be from here. And yeah,
Mm.
then I have on my side, which is my first tattoo, I have a mountain with a wave next to it. So that symbolizes that because growing up, I did a lot of mountain climbing with my father. And
Mhm.
around when I was still with my abuser, it was around the end of the relationship. I was climbing a mountain with my dad, and on the top of the mountain, he didn't know what was going on because I still wasn't telling anyone. But he then said to me, he was like, "You've lost your smile," and he was like, "I don't know what's going on, but life is all about climbing mountains. There's going to be times where you don't see the top of the mountain, and there's going to be times that you want to give up, but the view when you overcome the mountain, it's a view like none other." And I really like that because that was very true in regards to my mental battles, but also physical. That's exactly how climbing an actual mountain really does feel. It sucks while you're doing it, and there is times that you want to turn back, but when you actually get to the top of the mountain, you're like, okay, I can do anything. And then, so yeah, that's the mountain portion. And then the wave is there because life is all about ways of good and bad. So just give it time. It'll all work out. Those are my tattoos.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
I'm big into
Very cool.
symbolism. I want my tattoos to have stories, but I want to be able to be the one to tell the story.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I only have one tattoo.
Fair.
So yeah, but I'm heavily into symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So never mind. I was trying to set up a joke. I don't have any tattoos. I was trying to get you to ask me what the tattoo was.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I kind of zoned out. I should have asked what the tattoo was.
No, 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 no. It's okay. You ruined my joke.
So
You ruined my
sorry.
joke. No, it's okay. No, it's okay. No, those are very meaningful things. When you said climbing the mountain, I was thinking like maybe one of the reasons why you don't give up is to me go like I've been up a steep mountain like upwards.
Oh yeah.
It's scary going. It's scary going down.
No, it really is. It's terrifying.
Yeah, I'd rather just keep going up, and maybe someone could pick me up while I'm up there because I don't want to go down.
Literally.
It's a crazy direction. Yeah. So the EMDR brought you back from dealing with the trauma and brought you back from the the pain and wanting to delete yourself. We use the term delete. We'll keep it
Absolutely.
cool, modern, or whatever, contemporary. So someone in your situation has went through, do you have any advice that you'd want to share with or that you think that someone would need to hear? Like say you, when you're in it, what would you have told yourself like as advice now looking back?
There's going to be times that you don't think you're going to be okay. But in those moments, it's important to know that you are going to be okay. And that the world isn't a very kind place sometimes, but don't ever let that overshadow the kindness in your heart. And I would also just say, like, don't let assholes ruin your day. Honestly, am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, again.
Like,
Yes.
don't.
I won't write you a ticket.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that when you grow up, there's going to be a lot of people that push you down, and there's going to be a lot of people that don't believe in you. But in your heart, know who you are and stand true to that. And if you know who you are, and if you know the characteristics that you have, then no one can ever take that from you. Stay true to yourself.
Yeah.
And check in on your
Very
friends.
good. Well said. Yes, check in your friends. And to add to that, I'd like to add to that, if you're with someone who tears you down, you don't need to be with them. No matter what, no matter how they acted at the beginning of the relationship.
Yeah.
No matter, because that's the main thing. Like, oh, well, it was so good before. Well, it's not anymore.
Yeah.
the milk has gone rotten.
Yeah.
And especially if they're an adult, well, no one should do that to you, but especially as an adult, a grown man knows what he's doing.
Yes.
And for them to behave that way, there's something wrong with him.
Yeah.
And I would like to say another to add to that is if you are still drawn to someone like that, you need to examine why
Yes,
you are drawn to someone like that,
exactly.
because you shouldn't be. That is a very unhealthy attraction. You know, like when you know someone's abusive or bad, and you're like, I still want to be with them.
Exactly.
I don't know. Like, oh yeah, it's most likely a trauma bond or whatever else is going on there.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of that, I would also say know your worth and don't ever let someone take that from you, because people will try to take that from you. And yeah, if you have like a little bit of wits to you, I guess, like don't ever let them take that from you.
Yep. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, knowing your worth, I think, is that's actually, I think that's the linchpin that leads down to self destruction in a relationship. When someone takes your worth
Time to
and you
go.
feel worthless, oh, you're locked. Well, no, I mean, if you're unaware and you stay, like
Yeah,
someone broke you down and you feel worthless, you've lost control of
you
yourself,
have.
and they got you.
Well, that's kind of
There's
what
nothing worse
happened
than
to me.
yes, exactly. That's what I was trying to.
Yeah.
That's why I had mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
if you're in love with someone and if you're in love with them and they stole your worth, but that you're still in love with them, oh man, you're a puppet.
yeah, don't
You
ever
know.
love someone more than you love yourself, because you need to love yourself first. That's one of my biggest
Yes.
regrets, honestly. I don't have too many regrets in regards to it all, because I think like live with no regrets. Everything happens for a reason, whatever. But I do wish I loved myself a little harder.
Yeah. Well, for me, I did not know how to love
Oh, my
myself.
heart.
I
Yeah.
didn't know what that meant. I've heard that before, but I had no idea.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant.
That's actually bring
So
up a good point though. I feel like a lot of people don't really know how to love themselves, because you usually don't have to learn how to unless you're put into a situation where you're forced to learn how to.
yes,
Honestly,
yes,
because yeah,
yes,
I didn't learn to
yes,
love myself
exactly.
by choice. I got here because I had to get here.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the dilemma. Because I'd say in my at least in my experience with the interacting with the world is um like even pursuing a woman to be in a relationship with, I'm pursuing them. I'm trying to court them. And I guess vice versa, they're doing the same to me, but it's an output. It's not really I'm not thinking about myself,
Yeah,
you know? But it's crazy now. When you fast forward, I don't know if you've run into this yet, but when I look to date or relationships, I'm acutely aware of flaws, like the bad flaws.
oh,
Like I'll
absolutely,
notice, like, oh, I know what this is. I know where it leads. I'm not interested. So I
absolutely.
pick up on it pretty
I
fast.
find for me, like with the PTSD, the part that I haven't quite lost is the hyper awareness. I know everything that goes on around me, and I will most likely pick up on every emotional characteristic a person has,
Yes.
because I refuse to let myself in that situation again. Well,
Yeah, and
yeah,
you had to live in fight or flight
yeah.
for so long. You're probably like,
Yeah,
yep, you're just
it's been
yes.
hard, honestly, coming out of that state. It's been really
Yeah.
strange, honestly. I learn things new every day.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and once you're healed, you view the world different.
You
You
do.
know, once you go through
Yeah.
something and then you're like, it's almost like you're gifted with this wisdom that you
Exactly.
only can get through the experience.
Absolutely. Like, I've had a few people ask me if I regret a lot of things in my life and if I wish things were differently, blah, blah, blah. And of course, part of me will always wonder what my life would have looked like without all of this stuff. But then a big part of me is like, you know, no, I'm really not glad it all happened, but I've learned so much and I've gained like an outlook on the world that I think not everyone has. Like I think
Yeah.
the outlook that I have on the world now is of which only those who go to the darkest places will ever have, because you gain a new appreciation for people who struggle. You gain a new appreciation for mental illnesses. Like you gain a new appreciation for the world, honestly. Like we're all just people trying to figure out this life. We're all fighting demons.
Yeah. Yeah, if you ever get a chance, just throwing it out there, there's a term called post-traumatic growth.
Oh, I've
Have
never
you heard
heard
of
of
that?
that.
Yeah, look that up. It's what happens when you go through post-traumatic stress. People recover. You There's a thing called post-traumatic growth where that it's a very accelerated psychological growth, a
Wow.
wisdom that occurs that because you've learned.
Yeah,
If you do the work and go to therapy like you did, you it's like it made you a more well-rounded person.
absolutely.
You know, it's like your
Yeah.
brain's immune system. Like it got hit with a virus and then it built up an immunity and now it knows to do something like that comes again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's called post-traumatic growth.
That's interesting.
That and then there's also these books called shadow work books. Have you heard of
No,
those?
I've never heard.
Shadow work. Shadow. Don't let it fool you. It's not even that woo woo. Crazy stuff. The shadow. There's a psychological term called the shadow man, and the shadow man is a modern way of what they say is your inner child.
Okay.
It's the person that's deep inside of you that's kind of pulling the strings, your subconscious, and so based on research, psychologists have learned that uh, our personality, the general template
Hmm.
of it, just the general pillars of it, are established between the ages of 8 and 12.
Okay.
And then we grow up, we become mature, but that the general way we are is stuck there. That's why when you're dating someone, or say your abusive ex, you were dating that that messed up kid.
Wow.
There's a messed up kid inside of him that's in a man's body.
Yeah.
And whoever did something to him or whatever happened to him, it's still there. So that's the shadow man. Now they just call it shadow work. That's the shadow man. You know, here's a practical example, just especially for people listening to understand, is like, let's say you were bitten by a poisonous spider at 8 years old, and you came within an inch of your life. Now, you could be 26 years old and a spider crawls near your hand that looks deadly. You're going to have a stronger reaction than me because your shadow person, your inner person, is kicks in. It makes you react. It makes you behave. You might be like, oh my God,
Yeah.
wait, are there other spiders here? I mean, people are like, hey, calm down. And, but your 8-year-old, that 8-year-old girl in you, 8-year-old cat's like, no, 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 dude. I almost died.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if it's abandonment, if it's trauma, if it's abuse, same thing happens as an adult. If they had a dysfunctional relationship, say their dad used to beat them or used to tell them to kill themselves or did things when they get older, that's why they'll reenact it. That's why sometimes people who were abused become abusers.
Yeah.
It's an automatic kind of thing. So a shadow workbook, what it does is it helps you understand the connection between the two. So I'll give an example. Like in the workbook, it'll ask you like as an adult, think of something. What is something that's embarrassing? It's not a real question I'm asking. I'm just giving an example. Give an example of write down something. So you're in this workbook, right? It has prompts. Write down something that was embarrassing to you as an adult, where even if you think about it, you kind of have a physical reaction, get hot under collar, like, oh, the one time I peed my pants at work, right? Or something like that. And then, no, I'm sorry. Scratch that whole thing. I said it wrong. Think of something in your childhood that triggers you, to still makes you feel nervous. You go, oh, when I was 10, I peed my pants at school in front of everyone, right? And then why? You write down, you literally journal why. Well, because the other kids are laughing at me. They're going to think I'm like immature. I can't hold my pee. All this stuff, like your mind, right? So you're writing it. Then what it'll do goes, okay, what would adult Cat tell 10-year-old Cat
Oh.
if she saw her peer go, hey, it's okay. These kids are going to forget about it anyways. And you start seeing the connections, and it goes from adult to kid back and forth. And you start realizing, like, I still have that. Like, I know when I have to pee, I'm like, hey, pull over. I don't want to risk it. Let me stop somewhere. I don't even like to hold it. And you realize, like, those events affect us as adults.
Absolutely.
So that's what the shadow work does. And it's very easy to use. You can order from Amazon. They're like like
Oh my
$12
goodness.
on
That's so
Amazon.
interesting. I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to do
Yeah, it's a
that.
shadow workbook.
That is so
Yeah.
cool.
So, um, I'm glad that you're doing well. I saw that you have a website. What's with your website? What's going on here? What's I see that you're changing the world or
Yeah,
something.
so that's what we're trying to do. No, so yeah, I have a website that it's honestly just kind of like an online journal for me, really. It's like
Mm-hmm.
because there's no doubt I'm probably the happiest sad person you'll ever meet. Like, I don't understand how, but I'm very upbeat about life and everything. So my website is kind of just where I am posting like about my life and the good, the bad, the ugly, and like life with PTSD and like how I go about life going forward, because I have no doubt that I have a whole life of healing and growth and a roller coaster ahead of me. And I can almost
Yeah.
promise myself that I don't even know what I'm in store for. But I've always been the friend that everyone goes to for advice. So I also know that the stuff I'm thinking, there's a lot of people thinking it as well. We're just not all saying it. So where I have the confidence of helping people and everything, I'm just going to post it. And I have no doubt that someone out there will be able to relate to it. And hopefully it helps them just feel a little bit less alone.
What is for someone who's interested in your website? What is the website address?
The happiest sad person you'll ever meet.com.
Okay, there's a the on the front.
Yes,
The happiest sad person
you'll ever meet.
you'll ever meet. The happiest sad person ever. That almost sounds like a movie.
I know, you could make a movie on my
Might become
life.
one.
Honestly.
Yeah,
Crazy.
it might become one. The happiest sad person.
Yeah.
How about on social media? Can people fight? Do you mind people contacting you on social media to reach
Absolutely.
out if they relate? What is your social media tag
My Instagram is
or
Catherine
profiles?
Kerr. So KATHERINEEE. So 3 E's and then Kerr. KERRR. 3 R's at the end.
Okay, all right. You added those because the name's common, or did you? Is that how your name's spelled?
That no, those are just because the name's common.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that's a lot of E's, man. Your parents and I need to talk.
Right.
Um,
Calm it down here. No.
yeah. So, yeah. Well, I want to thank you for your time and sharing your story, and I hope that your story will inspire others. And remember, for those of you who are listening, the happiest. Wait, what is it
The
again?
happiest
Her
sad
website?
person you'll ever meet.
The happiest sad person you ever meet.com. Check out our website. I went on there. It's pretty cool. It's a journal. And I think that sometimes if you're going through things, if you see other people that have been there, it'll give you hope. It's like a shining light in the darkness. Like, man, well, Kat did it, so I could do it too.
Well, yeah.
So
That's something that it's so funny you say that, because that's what also kind of got me through it. Was like, I would see like in movies and stuff, like people who have gone through worse than I have, like able to make it out okay. So for me, I was like, okay, like if they're doing it, there has to be a way to do it. There has to be a way to find happiness again. I just have to figure out how. So that's why I'm showing people how to do it, because finding that how is really hard.
yeah, for me, I did a lot of EMDR, and for me, I became more spiritual. I became more God has become a more real to
That's
me
so important.
in my life. Yeah, because I didn't have that. I mean, I had always God,
Yeah.
this and that, but it really, and I didn't go like God. I mean, I believe that God helped me
Yeah.
through this. It's a long story. This episode's not about me; it's about you. But it's I think it's important to have a spiritual life, because
I agree.
it makes a difference. It makes a difference.
I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Within the last like a year or so, I would say I haven't had a full spiritual awakening, I wouldn't say yet, but I have no doubt that one is probably headed my way, because I'm definitely more in tune with it all.
Yes, yeah. And you know what? Everything happens when it's supposed to.
Yes.
So there's no rush. Like with me, mine took a while too. It took a few years to really
Oh,
dial
wow.
in And then, yeah, it wasn't like,
Yeah.
poof, like, oh, I've been enlightened. It was like a plant growing,
Yeah.
just come out the
Great
seed, come out the
analogy.
ground, a branch.
Right?
I'm sorry, a leaf.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's just
It's
tree.
all a process.
So yeah. All right, well, cool. Well, thanks again. We definitely have to stay in touch because I might come out there
Please
unless you come out here first. Yeah, I'm down, but I just got to know when it's not cold. And
Summer.
then I will plan summer, and I will plan accordingly.
Search up Snow
No, 'cause I would
McGeddon.
love to see their Slow McGladden.
Crazy.
You know what? I'm gonna start a rock band called Snow McGladden.
Do it. I bet you it'll like hit the charts. That'll be your next profession.
Straight out of Newfoundland, we got Snow McGeddon, ladies and gentlemen.
Literally. Yeah, this was my first podcast, so it was super fun.
Oh, is it? Okay. You know what? I'd recommend. You might want to think about starting one.
Thank you.
I'm dead serious. Yeah, you might want to think about starting one because, it's when there's a healing that comes about talking about things, and then you'll come across other people and resources.
Oh, that's so true.
So yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it might be worth it. And it'll be a cool addition to your website. And remember, you don't have to do long episodes. Some people actually have podcasts or just 5-10 minutes of like a thought. Like,
that would be like right up my alley. I get so many thoughts
like
every
a TikTok. Yeah, like I was thinking, why is Europe listed as a continent when it doesn't meet the definition of a continent?
Stop! Those are the kind of thoughts. Yes, I love it.
That's me. That's my.
That's amazing.
That's my. But if think about look at a map. Look at the definition of a continent. It's like surrounded by water, right? A big mass of land.
You're not wrong.
Europe is attached to Asia. Europe is it's.
Yeah, you're very true.
All right, so. Sorry, don't get me started. I'm going down the wormhole.
No, I love it.
All right, so hey, Kat, thanks again. Warm welcomes from sunny California. Even though it's September here, it's still warm. It's still awesome, at least in Southern California.
I wish I could say the same.
And you got a beanie on.
Right?
I'm thinking, man, it must be pretty chilly out there. Yeah. But yeah, so no, I'll definitely be in touch with you. I'll be more in touch with you. Last week was kind of crazy for me. It's a lot. I don't even want to say what happened on here. But yeah, I'll be in touch. And thanks again for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure. Such a lovely experience.